Imagine you could take a human from 50,000 years ago, a hunter-gatherer, someone who lived on the African plains, and drop them into your life for 1 week. How do you think they'd feel? Most people assume they'd be overwhelmed, confused by the technology, lost. But here's what researchers actually believe would happen. Within 3 days, that ancient human would be experiencing crippling anxiety. Within 5 days, deep, creeping depression. By day 7, they'd be completely unable to feel pleasure from anything. Not because your life is bad, but because your life, our modern life, is running on the wrong operating system for the human brain. And the most insane part of this story, the fix has existed for 300,000 years. You just stop doing it. So let's get this video started. And please subscribe so we can improve our visuals. Let's go back. Way backs. For roughly 95% of human history, our species walked every single day. Not as exercise, not as a wellness habit, just as life. Anthropologists estimate that hunter-gatherers covered between 9 and 15 kilometers per day on foot. And here's what that constant movement was doing to their brains. Something we're only now beginning to fully understand. It was keeping their dopamine system in a state of perfect calibration. See, dopamine, the chemical responsible for motivation, drive, and the ability to feel pleasure, was never designed to be triggered by a notification sound. It was designed to respond to pursuit, the slow burn of tracking an animal for hours, the anticipation of finding a water source, the satisfaction of returning to camp with food. Dopamine didn't spike and crash all day long like it does on your phone. It built slowly and released in a deep, sustained wave tied to real effort and real reward. Their dopamine system wasn't just healthier than ours. It was operating exactly as evolution intended. And then, in the span of about 200 years, we changed almost everything about how we live, but we didn't change the brain. Here's the timeline of what I call the Great Robbery. 1800s, the Industrial Revolution. Humans go from walking fields to sitting in factories. Daily movement drops by roughly 60% in under 50 years. The brain doesn't evolve, it just suffers quietly. 1950s. Television arrives. For the first time in history, humans have access to an on-demand dopamine dispenser that requires zero effort. You don't have to hunt anything, you just sit. The brain gets its hit. The body stays still. 1990s. The internet. Now the dopamine dispenser is interactive. You're not just watching, you're clicking, searching, discovering. The hits come faster, the baseline starts dropping. 2007. The iPhone. Now the dopamine machine is in your pocket. It goes everywhere. It's the last thing you see before sleep, and the first thing you see when you wake up. And now, algorithmic feeds. Infinite scroll. Apps designed by teams of engineers using the same psychological research as casino slot machines. Variable reward schedules to keep you swiping as long as humanly possible. And through all of this, what happened to walking? We engineered it out of our lives. We have cars for distance, elevators for floors, delivery apps for errands, remote work for commutes. The average American now walks less than 4,000 steps per day. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors walked 15,000 to 18,000. We have cut our daily movement by more than half, while multiplying our dopamine stimulation by a factor no one has even properly measured yet. The result is a brain that is simultaneously overstimulated and completely starved. The symptoms, you already know them. The flatness, the restlessness, the inability to sit quietly, the sense that nothing is quite satisfying enough, the reaching for your phone not because you want anything specific, but because you just can't bear the silence. That's a 300,000-year-old brain trying to survive in an environment it was never designed for. So here's the question. If the problem is that we've drifted so far from the conditions our brain was built for, can we go back? Not permanently. You're not going to quit your job and move to the savannah. But what if you could give your brain a daily 30-minute window where it thinks it's home? That's what walking actually is. When you walk, especially outdoors, especially without staring at a screen, you are feeding your brain the exact stimulus cocktail. It was calibrated for over hundreds of thousands of years. Rhythmic movement, Check. Changing visual environment. Check. Mild physical effort with no immediate danger. Check. Open space and natural light. Check. Your brain doesn't know you're just going around the block. It thinks you're on the plains, and it responds accordingly, firing up every ancient system designed to keep a walking human sharp, motivated, and alive. The dopamine system doesn't get a spike. It gets something better, a reset. Let me show you exactly what happens inside the brain during this reset and why it works so powerfully on your dopamine system. Deep in your brainstem sits a small cluster of neurons called the locus coeruleus. It's one of the oldest structures in the brain, and it is directly activated by rhythmic, repetitive movement. Exactly like walking. When it fires, it releases norepinephrine across the entire brain. Focus sharpens, mental fog clears. Your ancient brain just got the signal. We are moving. We are alive. We are in pursuit of something. This is why a 10-minute walk clears your head faster than almost anything else. It's 300,000 years of neurobiology doing exactly what it was built to do. Here's the part that changes everything. Modern overstimulation works like a drain on your dopamine tank. Every artificial spike, every notification, every scroll, every autoplay episode punches a small hole in the floor of that tank. Your baseline drops, the floor gets lower, and you need bigger and bigger hits just to feel normal. Walking does the opposite. It doesn't spike dopamine artificially. Instead, through a mechanism involving the ventral tegmental area, the nucleus accumbens, and steady rhythmic movement, it slowly raises the floor. It patches the drain. Over days and weeks, your baseline dopamine level, the amount you have just sitting there when nothing special is happening, measurably increases. And when your baseline rises, ordinary things become enjoyable again. Coffee tastes good. A conversation feels engaging. You can sit in silence without reaching for your phone. You're not getting more dopamine from those things. You're just finally able to receive it again. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is released during aerobic movement like walking. Scientists call it fertilizer for the brain, and it does something extraordinary. It grows new neurons, strengthens existing connections, and specifically, it protects and regenerates the dopamine-producing neurons themselves. Your ancient ancestors weren't just maintaining their dopamine system by walking every day. They were literally building a better brain every single day, and we can still do it. The mechanism is still there. It just needs the signal. The signal is your feet moving. I want to tell you what actually happens. If you run this experiment yourself, if you walk for 30 minutes every day for 1 week outside without your phone on day 1, honestly, you might feel slightly bored and restless. That's the withdrawal. Your brain keeps reaching for its usual stimulation and finding nothing. Stick with it. On day 2, sleep is marginally better, just slightly. The morning light exposure from your walk has started to recalibrate your circadian rhythm, which your brain has been trying to regulate for you despite the late night screen exposure. On day 3, something subtle happens in the afternoon. A quiet moment. Maybe you're making tea or looking out a window. And instead of immediately feeling the itch to grab your phone, you just don't. For a moment. On day 4-5, the locus coeruleus is getting stronger. Focus during work feels cleaner. You're less reactive in conversations. The hair trigger irritability that's become your normal. It softens just a little. On day 6-7, BDNF levels have been elevated all week. New dendritic connections are forming in your prefrontal cortex. You might notice something surprising. You're actually looking forward to the walk, not forcing yourself. That's your dopamine system coming back online. That's your 300,000-year-old brain saying, finally, this is what I've been waiting for. And this is just week 1. Researchers have found measurable increases in hippocampal volume after just 3 months of consistent walking. Your brain grows structurally. From walking, your ancestors knew this in their bones because they had no choice but to. Now, you have to choose it. Here's a thought that should genuinely stop you in your tracks. Hunter-gatherers had no word for motivation. They didn't have productivity systems, morning routines, habit trackers, 5-step frameworks for getting out of bed. They didn't need them because their dopamine system, maintained daily by constant movement, provided all the drive they needed automatically. Built-in default setting. Motivation was never supposed to be something you have to manufacture. It was supposed to be your baseline state. The $15 billion self-help industry, the explosion of ADHD diagnoses, the epidemic of burnout and anhedonia, these are not signs that humans have gotten weaker. They are symptoms of a brain running in the wrong conditions. Put the same brain back in the right conditions, moving, outside, daily, and the symptoms don't need to be managed anymore. They just dissolve because you fix the actual problem, not the symptoms, the root of it. The ancient humans didn't have the answer because they were smarter than us. They had the answer because they had no other option. We have to choose it. And that choice is 30 minutes and a pair of shoes. So here's your time machine protocol. Simple, free, and older than civilization. 30 minutes. Outside. No phone in hand. 5 days a week. That's it. That's the whole thing. Morning is best. Natural light in the first hour of waking anchors your circadian rhythm and gives your dopamine system a clean start. Leave the phone pocketed. Music or podcasts are fine, but passive scrolling while walking cancels a significant chunk of the neurological benefit. Go somewhere with greenery if you can. Even a park, even a few trees. Nature specifically quiets the brain's rumination network in a way urban environments don't. And give it 30 days before you judge it. Because you are not starting a fitness habit. You are restoring an operating system that has been slowly corrupted for 200 years. The restore process takes time. Somewhere on the African plains, 50,000 years ago, someone who shares almost your exact DNA woke up before dawn. They didn't check their phone. They didn't need motivation. They just walked. And their brain rewarded them exactly as it was designed to. That reward system is still inside you. It never left. It's just waiting for the signal. Give it the signal.